Hey everybody, this is Steve Bailey.
And Cassidy Harris.
And you're listening to At Home in North Iowa podcast.
So how you doing today, Steve?
It's been good. Having a lot of fun. Just got back from a little couple-day trip down to Arkansas with my son. He did some mountain bike racing down in Arkansas. That was pretty fun. But back at it and excited.
Yeah, I have been busy lately too. I just got done with inspections yesterday and showings, and it's just been crazy. I wish there was a little bit more homes on the market to show my people more. One of my clients said yesterday, it's kind of hard because I look at one home and feel pressured. Should I make the jump on this home? She said, I wish there was 3 to choose from. I said, I know it's like House Hunters on HGTV, but you can't do that.
I really, looking at our client base, I feel the worst for first-time home buyers. First-time home buyers, this is the biggest purchase of their life, and they don't get to take a look at a property and then step back and think about it, and I'm going to sleep on it. They don't have the opportunity to do that.
Nope. You got to make the decision in 2 hours or you're competing.
2 hours.
Yeah.
That's long.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking 20 minutes.
Yeah. Do you want to go to the office now?
But, it's a process. We are definitely here for you in that process. Whether you're buying or selling, we definitely have you covered.
Yeah. And kind of the whole reason why Steve and I wanted to start up our team too was so that in this crazy market and stuff, you're always covered. So yesterday I had 2 people, they wanted to see homes, and the only time it worked in their schedule, 1:00. Steve went out to one home for me and I went out to the other home. And if Steve's in that same predicament, it's the same thing. I'll go and do something for him. That way you're always covered. I've had people say that they were mad because their agent was out of town. We deserve definitely time off for vacations too. And it does stink when, you're not available for that person at that time in this type of market too. So that's huge with our team. The capability to be somebody is literally always at your service. So if you want to learn more about our team, which is called Century 21 Preferred with Modern Real Estate Solutions, head over to our Facebook page. We're just kind of getting everything going on there, getting our website going and everything. But our Facebook page is Modern Real Estate Solutions on Facebook. You'll see Steve and I are on the profile picture there. So you can learn more about what our focus is,
what services we offer.
Yeah. And our contact information and everything. And yeah, we're really excited about it.
Well, today we're going to be talking with Chad Schreck of the North Iowa Corridor. He's going to tell us about North Iowa Corridor, some big things that are happening in Mason City, talk about the mall. So thanks for joining us today. Hope you enjoy the podcast.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us on our podcast. We're really excited to have Chad Schreck with the North Iowa Corridor with us this morning. Welcome. Thank you so much for being on our show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, Chad, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from, what brought you to Mason City.
Yeah, so I came up here about 6.5 years ago, really for the job. I was recruited up here. I had been working down in Fort County territory, down west of Des Moines, about half an hour on the interstate. Adair County, Audubon County, Greene, and Guthrie counties, and really loved it down there. I'm originally from Western Iowa. I grew up by Carroll. My wife and I both did. And so, like I said, 6.5 years ago, got recruited. I didn't know North Iowa. I really didn't. Even though I've spent my whole life in Iowa, I didn't know much about it. Hadn't been to Mason City or Clear Lake before. And I still remember the first time we were coming up here for the first interview, and just wow, this is a pretty neat, nice place. It looks nice. It shows well when you come into town. And then the more you're kind of driving around, you're looking at things. It's wow, they got a lot going on here. There's a lot of nice opportunities and nice businesses and things I never would have thought were here. I didn't even know we're in Iowa. So it was really cool. And then as we were going through the interview process, the more I learned about it, the more they shared with me, the more I saw, the more excited we got. Because at the time we really weren't looking to make a move or do anything. And after a while, it's we have to. This looks like a great place to be, a great place for our family. At the time, we had 3 kids, and we're looking for a place we could go and raise them. So
And you liked it so much you went ahead and doubled that.
We did, yeah. And since we got here, we've had 3 more, right? So, yeah. It's crazy.
Well,
What
very
do you
good.
like about the North Iowa area versus like where you're from? Like what drew you most?
I think the size, I mean, with Mason City being just under 30,000, then you have Clear Lake that's about 7,500, which is honestly, that size was more what we're used to and what we both grew up in. But then you see all the things that you've got that allows for. So in Mason City, you got a lot of the big box retail and the restaurants and the amenities and all those things, kind of really like city kind of things they're here. I think a lot of times when we're bringing businesses to town, they see a lot of those things that we've got. And they're like, wow, that's here. I can't believe that you have this many restaurants or this many local and national brands and things of that nature. Then you go to Clear Lake and you got the lake and you got the recreation and all the outdoor stuff. And it's just such a nice mix, that balance of quality of life, cost of living, proximity to other major markets. I mean, we're still close to Des Moines or Minneapolis or Cedar Rapids. We can get to Chicago in an hour and a half on a jet, right? So
yeah, that's so nice.
It's
So
just such a
Yeah.
cool mix of amenities and, like I said, the quality of life issues, safety. You can be here and feel confident that your kids can run around the neighborhood, and we know all our neighbors. Even though Mason City is a little bit bigger town, you got your neighborhoods that are all unique. I still remember driving around that first time and seeing like the Frank Lloyd Wright area. And then you go to another neighborhood and it has its own character. You go to another neighborhood and it's got its own feel. And just, it was really cool. Like
It is kind of a unique experience with our different neighborhoods in Mason
Yeah.
City. Cause they're, it's
Every subdivision, I mean, not everything is the same. You go to other places that are big, it's like all the houses feel the same, all the subdivisions feel the same, and yeah.
I live in the gray 2-story. There's 37
Yeah,
of those.
exactly.
Yeah.
They're all kind of built the same. They all look the same. Yeah. They're all dressed the same. No.
a lot of times. So yeah, I mean, so all those factors really played a role in it. And then just the job was a great opportunity as well. And getting to sell this place, as a profession, it really sells itself. The biggest part is getting people here to see it, right? If they don't know about us, then they don't know about us and they don't check it out.
So it's neat to hear you say 6.5 years ago, you saw the progression of Mason City. And if you were to go 6.5 years fast forward, I mean, what you have done for our community, what just Mason City, what our administrators have done, it's completely different than it was 6.5 years ago. And it's only getting better and better and better. And it's an exciting time to be in here.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we've been really fortunate to have positive, forward-thinking leadership. I get to work every day with our city leadership at Mason City and Clear Lake, as well as the county. And everybody's been on the same page. That's what's been exciting about it these last couple of years, especially. A couple of years ago, we did a program or a planning initiative called Vision North Iowa that our organization helped lead. And we brought the cities, the county together. It was the first time we'd done a countywide plan like that, where we got citizen engagement. We got the political leaders together saying, what's that overarching goal for our region that we want to push forward? How do we grow effectively? How do we attract business? How do we attract people? How do we work together to do that? So all of our different organizations, and we've got chambers of commerce, we've got visitors bureaus, we've got workforce development, we've got the schools and the college, all these different entities trying to do things to make the community better. How do we make sure that we're pulling in the same direction so we don't have a bunch of different visions? We don't have a bunch of different things. And that's really helped us to guide and get more of an alignment of those resources and be more efficient, how we, each knowing our role and how we can help move towards that vision. So that's been really, really fun.
That's
process.
interesting. It's great that partnership is there and that's available.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
Awesome.
So you're the president of North Iowa Corridor Economic Development. So tell us a little bit about what your organization does.
Yeah. So North Iowa Corridor is really the economic development arm for Mason City, Clear Lake, and Saragordo County. So we got put together about 2010 or so is when it all became official. Prior to that, Clear Lake, Mason City had their own economic development corporations, kind of, competing, working again, not always working together. And the county was kind of there and they would kind of come in where they could as needed or as asked. And, I think, leadership back then kind of realized, look, we got a lot of similarities. We got a lot of things where what happens in Mason City impacts Clear Lake. What happens in Clear Lake impacts Mason City. And we got to be working together. And if we've got a business that's looking at our area, they don't really care if it's in Mason City or Clear Lake necessarily. They care if you're meeting their needs. Are we in the area generally that they want to be? They know they're going to be getting workforce from both communities and the surrounding region. So really businesses think regionally, and they, it's not about those city lines, right? They don't really care in a lot of cases. So we came together, and our goal always is to bring business and opportunity and people to North Iowa. So we really work across 3 buckets. We look at that business recruitment, which is what everybody thinks of economic development as. So that's like the McKesson project a few years ago, the Bushel Boy project this past year, things like that. Then we do business retention and expansion, and that's just our existing industries. How do we make sure that the metal crafts, the Kinglands, the crafts, those companies that have been here, that are located here, are successful and growing here? If they're not doing it, nobody else is going to want to come here, because why should they? If we can't support who we've got, we're not attractive to their business. And then finally, the third piece that's really become critical in the last 6 years, really since I got here, is that workforce component. So all of our businesses now, if you go around, you see help wanted signs, right? We're hiring. And we have really, in Iowa in general, got to do more to attract people to our communities and to our state. We just got the census. We only grew at about 4%. National average, I think, was 7.5%. So we're lagging, right? So, and in rural areas like ours, it's even worse. We're in a lot of cases losing population. And over the last 10 years, Cerro Gordo County has lost population. Now, we had a few years in there where we actually gained a little, or we only lost a little. But one of our big priorities is, how do we get that needle pointed? Well, hopefully first we can balance it. We've got to stop whatever decreases and then increase it. So we're working on a lot of things on the workforce side, whether it's training who we got to improve their quality of life and opportunities to fill the jobs we've got, working with our students to try to make sure they know about the opportunities in North Iowa. And then finally, recruiting new people to our area and making sure, or recruiting people back. A lot of students go to college, they leave, and they don't come back. Or what we're seeing now a lot of, and I'm excited about, is the people in their 30s or 40s raising a family now, and they're like, I really want to be in a place like North Iowa because it's got everything we need and want, and it's safe and has high quality education opportunities and things like that for my kids. So that's what we're really trying to get back to. We understand, if you're a high school kid and getting ready for college, or you go away to college, you want that big exciting opportunity in the big city or whatever. And I think growing up in Iowa, we all heard that. You got to go to like Chicago or Minneapolis or wherever to be successful. And I think people, it's cool to go experience that and get that kind of thing. But, I think after a while, you start to realize what you miss when you're back here.
Come back to your roots.
Yeah, my husband's from Dallas, Texas, and he moved up here about 8 or 9 years ago, maybe a little more now. But, we go and visit there and stuff. And he's like, I just want to get home, because he's come to realize this is the best place to raise our kids at. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's much smaller. Their schools are like the size of Mason City, and that's just the 9th grade. You know what I mean? Each class has their own school, and it's intimidating. So the homey feel, but you can still have a really good job here, and now so much more to do with the event center and stuff. It's huge to have that.
Yes, it really is. And it's funny how often we hear that. I had just met a person that moved here from Indianapolis area, and he's a plant manager, and at first he didn't like it, and it was kind of funny. He was just being honest. He's like, I don't really like it. It's not what I'm used to. Mm-hmm. And as we're talking, he starts talking about all the things he's been doing. And he's like, well, it's nice. I can just jump on my bike and drive for an hour, and I can see all these cool things, and it's just relaxing. And then, I don't have to sit in traffic all day. That's really nice. I'm only going 5 minutes to get to work. It used to be I was driving an hour just to get, 30 miles away or less, or 10 miles away. And it's like, wow, and then he's like, my 18-year-old son, said to me last week, he's like, Dad, you've really been a lot more relaxed since we've gotten here. And he's like, oh, I guess so it's just funny to watch as he was even just talking himself into, I kind of do like it.
Yeah. That's interesting to hear. Except for if you live on the east side of Mason City and you have to go to Menards. I mean, I pack a lunch.
That's a drive.
The whole 20 minutes.
Do I take 12th Street or do I take 4th Street? I don't know.
I know.
Yeah. It's tough. Yeah.
It's so funny how we think that's so awful, but then you go someplace like when we go and visit Dallas and stuff, I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but there's so many bridges everywhere, and you get on one, and if you get on the wrong one, oh my gosh, it's like you can't, you know what I mean? No, it's like now it takes us 20 minutes to get someplace. I gotta pack a lunch.
Yeah, and I don't miss that. Like, it's nice to visit those places if you really want to go and do the major league game or the NBA or whatever. We're really close to that.
Yep.
But we don't have to deal with all the other stuff every day, which, I got a sister in Chicago, and during the pandemic, she basically went back home and she just loved it. But she's doing some grad work out there too. So she's staying for now, but I don't think she will for long, because it's just crazy all the time. It's you're never relaxed. You never feel at home. So
always looking over your shoulder. I mean, it's
people are just different too.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. My brother lived in California for a couple of years, and actually one of my best friends in college was from LA. And but my brother, he starts hanging out with these people, and as you start to learn about them all, and it's like, so who are all your friends and everything, and almost bar none, they were all ended up being other people from the Midwest.
Oh, yeah, flock together.
And my friend that was from LA, he's like, gosh, everything's just so much. People here are just different. Like out there, everything's cutthroat. Everybody's out for themselves. But here, people actually care for you. They look out for you. They're nice. Mm-hmm. And I think there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
How do you think that we bring people here to grow it, to fill those jobs and stuff? Like, what is the best way to do that?
We're hoping that people can tell us, because we're trying everything we can. And let's face it, we've got limited resources. And the reality is, even Des Moines has that issue. Even Chicago has that issue. All these big cities, it's a nationwide issue where we do not have enough people filling jobs. Like even in Iowa statewide, if every person that was collecting unemployment right now took a job, we'd still have thousands of jobs open. I mean, that's just crazy to think about, but that's our situation right now as a state, and obviously locally. So I don't know the answer to that. I mean, there's not one solution, right? So it's, like I said, trying to keep our people that we got here as much as we can. And that's giving them the quality of life that they want and need, giving them the opportunities they want and need. If there's not a good job for me, I'm going to go find one, right? So we got to make sure that we are providing those opportunities. And then it's just being that welcoming community to everybody. Like, how do we bring people here? And it's across the spectrum. We need people to fill every job from your entry level to your executive level. And we hear businesses struggle across that spectrum. So there's places you can go right now and get your foot in the door without very much training or experience. And as long as you're somebody that shows up and does the job and is willing to work, they will train you up. It's amazing how many people work their way in small town businesses from that. Just that maybe they're sweeping the floor, and before you know it, they're a manager, like within 10 years, sometimes a lot sooner, because they've got the opportunity, and people are looking for good people, and businesses are willing to train. So we've got that going for us. We're looking at all kinds of programs, though. We actually have one going on right now that we've been doing for the last year and a half or so through a local company based out of Clear Lake called Avance, and she recruits people from Puerto Rico. And we've actually brought almost 60 people for jobs in North Iowa, not just in our county, actually around us. So like working with Mitchell County, Winnebago, Worth counties, and Hancock counties are all partners in this effort. And it's just been really cool. So almost 100 with their family members that have come as well. So Puerto Rico is an American not colony, I don't know, territory.
Yep.
And so you don't have to deal. It's not an immigration thing. It's just there's not a lot of opportunity there right now. Mm-hmm. And it's just been really cool. And I think there's only been like 2 of them that haven't stayed at the job they came for. So that's been really good. Because if you hear about turnover numbers with a lot of businesses, they're super high. Mm-hmm. But the folks that we've been able to bring through that program have been phenomenal. Actually, we're even working with the police department on somebody right now that's going through the process. Nurses, construction workers, accountants. I mean, there's been all kinds of different folks. One Vision's working with it as well. So a lot of really cool opportunities in that program as well. That's the most direct way that we've been able to impact it. Otherwise, we're looking at marketing things just to make sure people know about it. We hope people in the community, if you're a parent or grandparent and your kids or your grandkids are out working somewhere else, doing other things, be that ambassador. Tell them about the opportunities here, the chances, and what's changed and how it is such a great place to be right now.
So that company in Clear Lake, that's what they're focused on, is bringing people from Puerto Rico here for jobs. And
yes. Yep. So they do like direct recruitment. So like if Mercy has a nursing position, and they have a lot of nursing positions, they'll directly advertise for that position, and they'll recruit the people, they'll vet the people, they'll bring them, they'll set up the initial interviews and all the other things, and work with the business and the client to try to get them placed. And
so if you're a business that's needing help, you could look into something like that.
For sure. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Almost any type of industry as well.
And do you have to be in Sarasota County to
Nope.
take advantage of that?
Nope. So the way that we have it set up, there is a benefit to being in Sarasota or one of the other county partners that I mentioned around us, where your fees are lower because of an arrangement we've worked out with the company. So in our counties, you get a better deal on all of that work. But yeah, anybody in the state can use them.
Awesome.
That's really neat.
Yeah, my dad owns a big business and he always has problems.
Oh, it's tough.
Yeah, he owns a metal fabrication business and it's so hard to find people and to keep people.
Yeah.
You know, we have like the people that have been there for years and then, you know, you get some people in there and then they're just like after
6
lunch.
months?
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
after lunch, you're like, where'd
Don't
they
come
go?
And it's amazing how we hear that all the time, unfortunately. And it's tough. I mean, you know, and you don't want to blame people. I mean, some jobs just aren't a fit. And so we do try to work with employers on how do we start building that employee culture and that workplace culture that's positive and makes people want to come back and also gets them trained appropriately. Because it's amazing how often you'll hear that first day or that first week, they just don't come back after break. And it's like, well, what were you doing to train them? Like, how were you making sure that they were comfortable? Because some people, if they haven't been doing metal fabrication or they haven't worked with large equipment or machines, they might be afraid of it if they're not, you know, eased into it and shown kind of here's the proper way to do it. So we actually have some really cool programs with NIAC that we've partnered with them on trying to do some of that kind of training and just those onboarding techniques. And actually, Hunter Callahan is on our staff as our workforce specialist, and she works really closely with the HR association. She's actually on their board, and so we're always trying to share with them and hear best practices from what businesses are doing and be able to share that to the rest of our businesses. Again, those are just things where you get into this cycle though, where we're shorthanded, we got to get people in there, so it's just tough. You kind of get into this challenge where how do you take the time? We got all these orders we got to meet. We need people to start doing it. We don't have time to give our best people to help train new people. So it's tough. I mean, it's a tough thing. So we're always trying to look for the answers to those things. And it always comes down to resources and time and people and what can you actually do.
So one of the big projects in Mason City that was just released a few weeks ago is the mall.
Yes.
Can you I'm really curious like how that got started, you know, how that conversation even kind of formed about the mall. I think it's a great idea. It's really, really good for Mason City. I'm really excited about it. But just kind of the background of that would be great to hear.
Yeah. So the mall has been obviously an important component of the downtown since it was built, and served its purpose for a long time. I think for a good 20 years, it was doing what it was intended to do. And there are people down there and there are businesses down there. But the reality is the marketplace has changed dramatically, especially in the last year. It was accelerated. But even over the last 5 to 10, we've seen just the online shopping and everything else has come along. And it makes it really hard for those local retailers. And we saw it in the mall, and we've seen things leaving, of course. And then when you see those big anchors like JCPenney's and Yonkers and stores of that nature closing across the country, it's not a Mason City thing. That's everywhere.
Yeah, didn't some of them file bankruptcy?
Many of them have filed bankruptcy. So, you know, JCPenney's and Yonkers both, and Sears, and you could go down the list, right? It's a long, long list. So it's unfortunate, but it's reality. So we've been discussing for years now, even back through Vision North Iowa and before that. Actually, there's been variations of plans for the mall for 15 years or more, probably. But we've really been talking. I mean, it needs to be repurposed. What do you do with retail space? You know, we're not likely to get big retail box stores back in. You know, we saw what's happened with Kmart, and that's been phenomenal redevelopment. It's full now, the old Kmart building with Ashley Furniture and now the Dunham Sports and Planet Fitness and Harbor Freight and all that. Really cool to see that refilled. But it was broken up into several smaller things. So it's like, all right, what could we do with the mall? Is it something like that? Is it more entertainment based, which we're seeing in a lot of cities now? They're moving these things to more entertainment. Some places have moved in like nonprofits and city government and things like that into their downtown malls. So everything was on the table. It's like, what do we do? How can we revive this? Make sure it's filled. Make sure it's a place that's utilized. You can't have a 250,000 square foot building in the middle of your downtown empty, right? And so that just a big challenge. So as we've been working with various opportunities, we've been able to talk to the current owner and try to do some things there. And that wasn't always easy, but they helped us move forward with the arena project, which was the first phase of all this. And that's been a huge success. I mean, it's tough that we started it the year of a pandemic, but those first few months, if you were able to go there, it's packed. Those games, those hockey games were amazing. And it was just so fun to see all the people. And then you saw like Sports Page restaurant open, and they're having incredible success, and all of that was going, it was working. We were drawing the people in. Pandemic shuts it all down. It is what it is. They were able to maintain and get through it. And now we've seen it ramp back up, and we're seeing all these events and these concerts and all that activity driven back into the mall. So we're showing that it can be done, right? And it's working. Well, we've been working with this developer group actually on the hotel project. And we took them through there, maybe almost 2 years ago, as the first time, as possibilities. We were exploring options back then for like conference space. And it's like, well, the Yonkers space is going to be right there. What if we did conference space in there instead of building all this new space? Or what if they had been through it. They were aware of it. They knew, they thought, wow, the movie theater thing, there could be some cool opportunities there. So their wheels had started turning all the way back then. Well, fast forward through the pandemic, and actually kind of the financing group behind that developer really started to grow, and they started to build up this whole model on some ideas for what to do with all these retail spaces around family entertainment and creating new venues out of that. So they've been looking all over the country, but this one was always kind of where that idea started. And so we were able to get them connected to the current mall owner and they started those discussions, kind of went back and forth for a while, and eventually they came to an agreement, and that's why we're here now. Why we're able to move this thing forward. They've got ideas for this family entertainment center, which have like go-karts and bowling and reopening the movie theaters, various other things, restaurants, bars, a distillery, a comedy club, Gino's East Pizza out of Chicago. They've got some really cool partnerships already that they've got planned to bring in there, and some hopefully that we'll be able to announce in the next 6 months. That will be really exciting. And again, just those attractors. And a big exciting part for them is having that kind of attraction next to their hotel and conference center, which makes the whole conference thing a lot better sales pitch for them, because now you got people coming for, well, we got this really cool tie-in to Music Man Square. We got the really cool tie-in with Frank Lloyd Wright. We've got all these other things. And now we've also got this huge venue right next door to us where you'll be able to have your night events during your conference. You'll be able to have all these things for people to do right on site. So it really could be a destination for conferences and all of that. Our goal with all of this, because one of the challenges we always come back to in economic development is anything new that we bring in on any part of it, how is it going to impact our community and our existing industries? So on this side, how is it going to impact restaurants? How is it going to impact other hotels? All of those things. And to us, this really grows that whole pie for everybody. I mean, yeah, there's going to be these new things added to the mix, but our hope is that's what attracts people from outside the community and then branches that out for everybody within it.
When we look at the rivers, people were like, well, what do you think about the river? Because we sell real estate, that's, we want people to buy homes, but we also need people to come in that are new, that are just starting their careers, that may not want to buy a house or have the ability to buy a house. It's that same concept, because with 110 apartments in Rivers.
The river is 130.
130.
Yep.
So 130, they're completely full.
Yep.
And has it affected your business at all, Cass?
No, I actually was in there the other day. One of my clients lives there. Beautiful.
Right.
Yeah. And it hasn't affected me at all. And
now they're wanting to build a second one. But all that does, it's bringing people in. It's giving them a fantastic place to live, close to downtown. And, the mall repurposing, that conference center, a lot of people don't know in Mason City, if you wanted to have a conference with 300 people for an indoor space, it's just not available.
No.
We've been lacking that for years and years and years. So you think about bringing some big conferences, and people are like downtown, and they're like, oh, this is a neat place, and, potentially people are going to move here because of that. And then if we have great housing opportunities, if we have great apartment opportunities, it all really works all simultaneously together. And I think it's neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You hope the people in those apartment complexes too will love it here. And actually, one of my clients that lives there said that there was a lot of people she was talking to in there that during the pandemic were sick of being in their little 1-bedroom apartment in Des Moines or something like that and paying a ton of money for it and working from home. So they moved here because it was cheaper living and they could get a bigger apartment. And so they moved into that apartment, you know. So you're hoping, okay, you like it here, and buy a house from Cassidy Harris or Steve